Hello! So today we're going to be learning how to solve equations by multiplying or dividing. Let's get started. The first problem is 5c is equal to negative 65. Alright, so the goal in solving this equation is to isolate the variable. And what is the variable? In this equation, the variable would be c. So how do we isolate the variable? Well, our first step is to simplify. However, there is nothing to simplify in this equation because this is just as simple as it gets. The second step is to do the opposite of what's happening to the variable. So what is happening to c right now? Well, it's being multiplied by 5. We want to do the opposite of multiplication, and the opposite of multiplication is division. So we are going to want to divide by 5 on both sides of the equation. The 5 and the 5 cancel out. That turns to a 1. C is equal to negative 13. The only thing I'm going to change is the color of the C. I just want to make it clear that the variable is C. Okay, so our answer is C is equal to negative 13. We still have to do another step, and that other step is checking your answer by plugging the variable into the original equation. What is the original equation? Well, the original equation is 5c is equal to negative 65. So 5. What does c equal? C equals negative 13. So we're going to plug negative 13 into the original equation is equal to negative 65. Negative 13 times 5 is equal to negative 65. Is equal to negative 65. Now, is this statement true? Is negative 65 equal to negative 65? Yes, it is. So that means that negative 13 is equal to c. So our answer is correct. Next problem. All right, so the next problem is b divided by 9 is equal to negative 108. So again, with any equation, the goal is to isolate the variable. In this equation, the b would be the variable. And variables are usually just letters. But honestly, the variable could easily be a happy face or a question mark. It doesn't matter. It just stands for something that you don't know. So our first step is to simplify. But there is nothing to simplify, so we're done with step 1. The next step is to do the opposite of what's happening to the variable. So you have to ask yourself, what is happening to the variable? Well, it is being divided by 9. We want to do the opposite of division, which would be multiplication. You are going to multiply 9 on both sides of the equation. And this, basically, you would multiply by the reciprocal of this. So right here, you would multiply 9 over 1, which is just 9, on this. So we could write it out as 9b over 9. These 9s cancel out, you're just left with b, but usually just write it in this way and you know to cross out the 9s. Then you're left with b is equal to negative 108 times 9, negative 972. However, we always have to make sure our answer is correct. And the way to do that is by plugging the variable, the value of the variable, which would be negative 972, into the original equation. So we have to plug the value of b, which is negative 972, into the original equation. Over 9 is equal to negative 108. I'm just going to plug this into the calculator because I cannot do it in my head quickly. And my answer is negative 108. Negative 108 is equal to negative 108. This statement is true, so that means that b is indeed equal to negative 972. So this is our answer. Next problem. All right, so the next problem is negative 3 over 4 k, or times k, is equal to 12. We already know the goal. I think that's pretty set in stone that our goal is to isolate the variable. And in this case, our variable would be k. So our first step is to simplify. Right here, there is nothing to simplify. It's pretty simple already. Our second step is to do the opposite of what's happening to the variable. So what is happening to the variable? It is being multiplied by negative 3 over 4. We want to do the opposite. We want to divide by negative 3 over 4 on both sides of the equation. So how do you divide by fractions? Well, if we have negative 2 divided by 3 over 4, we keep the 1 over 2, we change the sign, and we flip the fraction. So it becomes 4 over 3. Then we multiply straight across, so it would be 4 over 6. In this case, in order to divide on both sides, we have to multiply by the reciprocal, or just flip the fraction, and that would be 4 over 3. Include the negative. So we multiplied negative 4 over 3 on both sides of the equation. 4 over 3. On this side, you could write positive 12 over 12, because 4 times 3 is 12, and 3 times 4 is 12. And then these negatives, they cancel out and they turn into a positive. So 12 over 12 is just 1. So on the left side of the equation, we're left with k is equal to 12 times negative 4 over 3. And with this, we can just pretend that there's a 1 over the 12 to make it easier. And we get negative, because this 12 doesn't have a negative, so there's no symbol to cancel out. The negative drops down, and we just multiply straight across. So 12 times 4 is 48 over 1 times 3, 3. Now right here, we can simplify this fraction and divide negative 48 over 3. When we divide this, we get k is equal to negative 16. Again, we can always check our answer. So the last step is check your answer by plugging the variable into the original equation. The original equation is negative 3 over 4. Substitute the value of negative 16 into k, because that is what k equals, is equal to 12. Now right here, we can just do this pretty quickly and do negative 16 divided by 4, which is going to be negative 4, then times negative 3 is equal to 12. That, you can do it pretty quickly in your head, but you can just pretend that there's a 1 over this and multiply negative 3 times negative 16, which is equal to positive 48. Those negatives cancel out. Over 4 times 1 is 4, is equal to 12. And then you can divide 48 over 4, which is 12, is equal to 12. Because 48 divided by 4 is equal to 12. And this statement, 12 is equal to 12, is true, which means that k is indeed equal to negative 16. Next problem. The next problem is negative 2 times 6y is equal to 144. Now the variable here is the y. We want to isolate the y. So the first step is to simplify. And in this problem, you actually can simplify. You can distribute this negative 2 into the equation. But we'll just take the easy route and simply divide negative 2 on both sides of the equation. The negative 2 cancels out. We're left with 6y is equal to negative 72. Okay, so now we want to do the opposite of what's happening to y, and that is by dividing by 6 on both sides, because 6 is being multiplied to y. The 6's cancel out. We're left with y is equal to negative 72 over 6, which is negative 12. Again, we always have to make sure that our answer is correct, and we do that by plugging in the value for y into our original equation. So let me erase this. Let's plug negative 12 into the y. So now we get negative 2 times 6 times negative 12, which is negative 72, is equal to 144. Negative 2 times negative 72 is equal to positive 144, is equal to 144. This statement is correct, which means that y is indeed equal to negative 12. Thank you so much for watching. Bye! Thank you so much for watching.